sharing the screen. So please confirm whether it is being seen or not.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, is
Visible.
it in presentation mode?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. So generally, the fundamentally that I started here with the discussion was the such kind of courses now, the particularly using of ICT enabled courses now, and 1 year before when it was being organized in as refresher courses, short term programs in various institutes and universities. The fundamental difference is that all of us are now in that mode. Earlier we had some option, we had the option of direct interaction. Now even the new batches who are joining, they are also starting the classes. We have started our first semester also with ICT enabled techniques. Now, so therefore, the approach which was 1 year before, or what we didn't face, was mainly the reasons for launching such techniques and proliferation of the methods were mainly for empowerment of students and teachers through synchronous and asynchronous instructions, where we considered that Indian learner deserves to have access to high quality education, considering the fact that we have a scarcity of trained teachers, because in very remote areas we have shortage of faculty members. In some institutes we find that there are no uh, enough number of teaching faculty members. The empowerment of teachers through workshops have been helping over the time. That is the pedagogical aspects, the techniques, methods which can help in innovating the education and communicating with the students. They have been improved, and this such kind of refresher courses have taken place, means for various subject oriented and in general viewpoint. Particularly, these were all thought of from the point that there were many institutes, particularly in the it was in the engineering section. I can tell that there are many private institutes where the students, every time they made some feedback to these central portals, that we are not able to have quite a good number of classes, or we are not having access to such kind of teaching. Every few months our teacher leaves. So there were these kind of feedback were there. So it was decided that AICT took the initiatives that we should provide the online class opportunities, and gradually the curricula was modified and has been modified, so to say, following the techniques which are used by other institutes also, that there are some credit points and some courses with the respective credit points being fully dedicated to the online courses offered in MOOCs or NPTEL platform. So that has helped the students a lot where they had their gap. So institutes know that what is their uh, strong points, where are their weaknesses. So it's not that all institutes will have all strong points, and some institutes will have all the weaknesses. So there are good points also, and there are some weaknesses. To overcome those gaps, the curricula supported them officially, so to say. The curricula supported that you can go for the online courses, and in fact this change curricula has been put up by AICT, and gradually this has been implemented in all the institutes. And for the present scenario, you must know that everything, whether the regular classes or the such curricula structures which are being already followed, they are being continued by through the NPTEL courses. And in fact, the effectiveness of this approach has been benefited by thousands of students, and also teaching faculties have benefited through various support mechanisms, because if there was the introduction of ARPIT courses, I will show the order in 2018. So now the refresher courses are also online and due credits are being given. It was long to convince that such kind of online courses also adds credit to the uh, teachers who are unable to move from their workplaces due to some reason or the other. So the broader sense, the educational policies have to cater to socioeconomic development policies, and it is linked to that. So we have to have a outreach to the those people who are unable to access that. So the fundamental aspect of digital divide has to be narrowed down. It is being continuously tried upon. In fact, there are some proposals that the entire country will have free Wi-Fi network in some time or the other, with the various initiatives taken by the government. In fact, it is in tune to all government agencies, and there are various other agencies who are providing these kind of facilities. In fact, there are the outreach programs from many industries who are adopting some villages where they are providing such support. So it is the corporate social responsibility has also been initiated in this domain. And ICT in education policy, this is particularly from this broader sense benefits. So it is including this consideration that when you take up the ICT tools, so that also has to be included, like setting up of free Wi-Fi networks and providing the accessing equipment to the needy students. But still, a lot has to be done, because you must be seeing that there are every day there are different kind of news that this student needs a laptop, or this student needs a mobile phone, because this kind of needs has to be because everything has shifted now in post-COVID situation. The use of ICT tools have drastically increased, so naturally the um, outreach of these kind of accessories has to be speeded up. So, but it will, I think it will be, the gap will be filled up with due effort within short time by all willing governments. Now, in competencies of the teachers, now a person who may be a very nice teacher with the chalk and talk mode may find it difficult to adopt to the ICT enabled, and it has been seen. So this gradual competencies enhancement, this has been taken, this has to be taken care of, and it has to be catered to. It happens, if you just see that now we are getting habituated to that. It many times happens when you are in the studio to record your lecture. Maybe you are not every time when you are addressing something, you may not be taking seeing directly to the camera. So this kind of but when you are in the class in chalk and talk mode, it is a good communication between the students and the teachers. But this adaptation, adoption of the techniques which are based on education has to be little bit speeded up because of this requirement. And there are a lot of platforms also where a good teacher may find that why not their own um, method of teaching will be only restricted to their own students. So they can now access it. It's not only having a good studio in universities and institutes, but apart from that, they can have different tools. I will discuss those tools also, which are becoming necessities for this kind of ICT enabled teaching. So therefore, I just put the topic of my talk as enabling ICT based education and harnessing its efficacy. Now the main uh, key is how to harness its efficacy. To do that, an overall interest and the adaptation of the newer methods is very, very important for us. So it's all started with this National Mission on Education through Information Communication Technology, which was in short as NME ICT. So it's launched in February 3, 2009. So with the so various governments have tried to put up the ICT enabled education. So in which phases, that has to be observed. So the website sakshat.ac.in, it was initially which was available. Now we cannot get so much information on this because there has been more streamlining of the facts, and there has been shift in policies, so whether how to make a unified system. So in that way we have some more developments in that. I will talk about those developments also. But the infrastructure started getting created. Now one of the important thing was that you have the InfleetNet. InfleetNet was already present where nowadays we have the thesis and all the information is provided there. Now how to access this particular network through various such portals. So initially when it was to leverage the ICT enabled education, so it was the Sakshat which provided the repository. That is, there is some kind of already some NPTEL courses were there. It put up some NPTEL courses. There were some recordings which were already being transmitted through Doordarshan. We have seen long ago that there are some courses, UGC courses, which was put through Doordarshan, but there was something from Doordarshan, some fundamental courses, some core courses which were for catering certain topics. So these were through the terrestrial television network. So it was through television network which was done, and then in 2009 it was thought that already NPTEL courses are there, so why not use the internet resources? That is, through the internet technology, it can be communicated to each and every access point and eventually to your devices. So you can use a tab, you can use your own laptop, because you can use your smartphone. So nowadays the smartphone is almost it has completely replaced the 2G phones. So therefore the acceptability of such things has been framed. I think many of you are accessing this today's lecture also in your own smartphone, rather taking the help of your laptops or going back. So this initially it was also that it was under the SAARC also, because there were some developing nations who wanted that they would access the courses being offered here, and there was a huge success also. The NPTEL courses had a huge success so far as the other country students were concerned, and therefore we have now the recently launched Study in India program. So in Study in India program also there were some states where it is foreign students. We get a lot of foreign students under that, though there was the DASA also for the foreign students. And in fact there were a lot of other platforms also, like the Consortium for Education Communication, then ePG Pathshala. Obviously NPTEL was the starting point because there were some courses getting recorded as archival purpose, because there were some this was the idea behind the NPTEL courses. And obviously there was some other portals which came up, but nowadays you cannot find it. That is Talk to a Teacher and a virtual classroom, a view. These are the tools which are getting used, but nowadays we have better resources also for that. So these become unified, and the initiation of such kind of connectivity was enunciated with the lot of channels which is being offered in the Central Institute Network Topography. Now these are also taken care of by NIC, and we have the access because we have the InfleetNet also. So there are a large number of channels which are assigned to various institutes. So there is a network connectivity between various institutes and sharing of data, and there are some hubs which are generally acting as controlling centers. So in this way, there was the entire network structure was created so that we can access the contents. So whenever we want to access a particular NPTEL course, so we have to see whether the course is being taken up by which institute. So that institute will have the, but there is some central control, like the initiative was taken by IIT Bombay in that case. And there are other institutes also who are like, taking the such kind of ICT enabled courses, like the short-term programs and other courses which are being offered as NPTEL chapters. There are local centers like here NIT Patna is taking place in the eastern region. So similarly, there are other regions where so newer institutes are also being assigned such pivotal roles who will take care about the as nodal centers. They will act as nodal centers, and any institute can take up such kind of activity. So provided, and in fact, NPTEL chapters, if you see, they are getting opened up in various self-financed institutes also. So the accessibility and outreach has increased drastically over the years. So when the NPTEL courses, they have the large number of, it's not that earlier when it started, it has very few number of courses. Now with the, you have a same particular subject, but you may have a large number of different courses on that same subject by various teachers. Now the students have now the more options. That's important. The number of options, like the same particular course A, it's being recorded, and the entire 40 lecture, you can find it for a particular person. You can have another person also who is offering the same course. So now there is a choice, and there is also a feedback mechanism. You can know from here that which courses are getting more access, which the students are preferring, more hits they are getting. So this kind of phenomena and improvements have taken place over the year. Earlier there was only one course in particular, antenna engineering. Now there has been some more web courses. In fact, one of the antenna second course was evaluated. This 43 lecture hours, it came to me for evaluation. So I had to look into all the 43 lecture videos, and then that was the particular, we have to see the what are the web courses are progressing, and how the web courses, what are the tutorial aspects, what are the resources. So all this has to be evaluated. So after evaluation, and then they are finally put up. So as I was mentioning that NPTEL has a, we have seen the opening up of many chapters and the outreach of NPTEL. Now the local chapters are 1900 plus, and the exam registration are 86,000. In fact, the regulations have also been modified with this fact. Like for us, those who are working in organizations and they want to do PhD, their coursework we are accepting now as courses which they are taking from the NPTEL platform or from the MOOCs. Those courses, their credit card, their credit points are getting directly included in the total credit requirement for the coursework duration. So they have to finish their coursework, add to their, submit their grade card, and we will add their credit points to their required after some formalities, because we have to see that whether, because the norms may be different, like we have kept that it should be 60% for certain cases. So those percentage marks has to be also taken care of. So therefore, the regulations have been modified to keep in view. Earlier, this process, it was not possible. So a person working in a very responsible position in certain organizations, and if he wants to pursue research, then that person had to take a leave and come and pursue the coursework. But now they can do it from their own working place, and they have finished it with a flying colors also. I can give an example where one of my students, after this new modification, he is a senior scientist in DRDO Chandipur. He was a course topper in one of the courses based on GPS in the domain of his PhD. So it's not that, in fact, that developed a lot of confidence in that senior scientist, that he is able to pick up the courses, and he is a course topper also for that course. So there are, and they provide a lot of accolades also. So once he became the course topper, a memento was sent to us to be handed over to him. So these are the things. It's quite interesting for the senior people also to take up such courses and to put them those courses. It is either some courses are 8 weeks, some courses are there. The number of weeks varies depending on what is the total credit, what is the contact awards. Obviously, you know that because you have been yourself setting up the curricula for the chalk and talk mode, which where the students are coming to classes, regular classes. There also you are fixing the total lecture hours, contact hours, and the corresponding credit points. So here also it is little bit different in the sense that we don't have a long duration of such courses. Some are 4 week courses, some are 8 weeks, some are 6 week. So it depends on what is the contact hours and the corresponding credit value is transferred. So you maybe have, so to achieve a total credit of 8, you may have to take up some 2 to 3 courses, and or you have to also fix up that what is the nature of the courses you are taking. So it's quite win-win situation for all in such domain. And to speak of the online courses, particularly in MOOCs and all this platform, it has increased the volume, and the resources have gone to such a level that we have 42,000 more plus hours of video content. And with the access to many social media platforms, these are also accessible. Some portions are obtained from the YouTube subscriptions. They're having NPTEL websites also. There are 460 million plus views. This data shows that the inquisitiveness towards the ICT-enabled courses have increased drastically, and it's without any bounds. It doesn't needs to be mentioned that post-COVID, it is a in fact, it is unable to be judged that most of the courses people are taking additional courses to finish up their grades, because there are some curricular changes in our system that instead of studying for 8 semesters, you can devote the final semester totally as an intern. So whatever may be the branch, so they can devote as an intern. So provided you achieve the required credits between 7 semesters. So with this, what happened? There was a huge rush in taking up some additional courses from NPTEL and such platforms. So they can add up those courses to their existing credits, and they can finish it off within the designated duration and spend their entire semester as internship, because internship plays a lot of role in their placements. So we have, as I mentioned, that the credit cards are given, there is a certification for that, even accolades are given. In fact, nowadays you will see that if you look to the NPTEL website, if it is the toppers of three such subjects, their information is put up in the website. So it is a good initiative. And similarly for the MOOCs courses also, it has seen a lot of interest in the student community as well as the teaching community, because gradually many places it has been recognized that the teachers faculty development programs or refresher courses, they are getting accepted by the 2 weeks, 3 weeks courses which are being offered. So a 3-week course can be taken up easily with this. A 3-week course will add up to their requirement for refresher courses. Obviously, we'll look back to the different components of MOOCs, that is how to put it up, like how to give a lab demo, then there are discussion forums, live interactions, then content lecture videos, there are assignments, how to evaluate them. These are all, but there are some strategies out of that, there are some designated ways. In fact, you can tell that this concept of massive online courses, or the word massive is that it has grown to be including so many number of courses nowadays. but it has taken up the already used techniques which was being followed for the NPTEL courses also, and the online courses which are getting developed by the faculty members of various institutes for their own students, and in fact for the uh, remote access for their class recordings can be reviewed by the students whenever they are willing to do so. And there are a lot of platforms also for doing that. So the courses are having, most of these users are the students. Obviously, I mentioned that faculty members, they constitute a significant strength because their faculty development program and refresher courses are getting catered by this domain. And also some industry people are getting. Now you can see that there are, I am not naming the platforms which are getting, there are a lot of private players also which are providing such online courses, and they are charging, and they're getting providing that upgradation. So they're telling that you get upgraded your skills, upgraded your technical knowledge, and you can use it to enhance. Like there was the distance learning program at one point of time. So those distance learning programs were generally conducted by various IMs, and they used to, that similar kind of nature has been put up by accessing the MOOCs courses also, because there are a lot of disciplines which are getting updated. Earlier there was only the limited disciplines. Nowadays you can find all the disciplines in their repository, and the courses being offered. And similarly, it has benefited. Now I hope post COVID the percentage share has improved for the industry people also, because with the post COVID they are finding it difficult to continue with their existing jobs, so they are trying to enhance their skills and shift their jobs. So there is a lot of churning up of the entire sectors and various users. And in fact students are finding it that, okay, I'm completing this particular subject, so this an enhancement requirement was there for these online courses, so they have taken up many such other courses available in MOOCs or NPTEL. So the viewership has increased, and also participation in it. Earlier the number of people who continued, there were many who saw a few lecture awards and they discontinued it, but now the persons who are completing the entire courses has increased. That is what is the important part. Over the years, this has, we have seen the changes is the person who are completing. Earlier they used to view, okay, few lectures, they used to visualize, they used to go through them, and later on they were unable to continue it further. But now the persons who are completing the courses, starting from the registration and then finally giving the exams, even you can put up the, you will see that there are a lot of continuous assessment also being done. So it is like the, we had, we can see the MHRD sponsored the e-outreach programs, which is under NMA ICT. There was the IST workshops, IET workshops. So there are a lot of workshops where people used to go to a particular remote center or a nodal center, and then they used to get access to that through that network or hub. They used to access the courses which are getting offered by faculty members sitting remotely in their own institutes. So the faculty members, instead of coming to that place, but the participant had to come to that particular organization. It may be university, it may be institute. Nowadays, think that this particular room which you see here is vacant, and all the candidates are now in their own respective workplaces or at home. Now, this is what is the change which has occurred. So, catering to this, how the resources have to be utilized. So, we can have the focus is that here, when you access the sessions, the internet is the very broadband so far as the institutes are concerned, but the data sharing nowadays, the persons who are working from home, work from home culture which was started, they had to take up broadband, so the expenditure for internet services has increased. And if you are not using the broadband, you come back to the institutes and access from your own room, maintaining social distance. So this is what has changed in the post-COVID period. So the idea is almost same, and the tools which are being used to prepare such lectures, which we'll now focus on, is you can have it. There are a lot of openware tools. Try to use openware tools for that which are freely available, such that you get sure that nobody is going to contact it, because whenever your online content is there and you're having a wide access to your own online content, you have to ensure that you have provided proper copyright, you have provided proper um, acknowledgement to the various aspects which are to be taken care of so far as the content is concerned. And in fact, if you use openware tools, nobody is going to challenge you that you don't have the license in your own institute. Then how are you showing the results and content from this kind of, so this kind of issues will be evaded if you use the open tools. So try to see that, like for an example, if you're not having access to Adobe Photoshop for your image enhancement for various course lecture illustration, you can use pen.net. Write it. It is pen.net. So you can use the image enhancement software pen.net, which is completely open, where it is available freely. Instead, if you don't have access to complete Adobe Photoshop package, it is almost similar. You will able to have you can modify the images very nicely. So there are such kind of tools are there, like Scilab you can use instead of MATLAB if you are working out with some kind of programming in mathematics or physics or your own domain where you require some programming to be explained. So there are other tools also for that. Now there are certain domains which were initiated, but now they are not so much functional now. One is the CEC and the inter-university centers, though, and it was mainly with the television network which was being used for transmission of the information and the course content delivery. Now I will, when I end up that part, I've kept it that how this has been again used up. The post-COVID, there has been a lot of revival process for this domain. Though the UGC started these classes way back in 1984, this system has had its revival, though it has started using one of the newer satellites which was launched in November 2015, which is the GSAT. Using GSAT 15, this particular thing has been revived. Though the satellite has been launched in 15, we suddenly found a renewed interest in, because the main reason was that people had difficulty. In fact, in certain areas, internet connectivity is poor. So, but the satellite communication through that, the television systems would be more accessible. So that was getting done. In fact, a lot of institutes are also following that. How I will share it in the latter part. Then there was the Vidya Mitra. These are the certain portals I'm sharing with you because these were there. Might be some of you have got the interest and had access to this particular kind of portals. There are, in certain cases, not only recording the classes, these portals were mainly catering to those concerns that you can put up your lectures, your lecture notes, your texts, you can put up the documents in your particular courses, and it is the kind of a web course which will be developed. There you don't require to put up your lecture videos. And you can put up questions also. There are two types. We can just put up your courses and the students will be able to access content wise whatever has been provided there. They can ask questions also. In the other cases, you can ask question and you can also test them whether they are learning or not. So these are the two ways. It depends on what kind of accessibility you want to opt for. There are a lot of formats for putting this course contents. If you are already developing the course content, you can go for them. If you are having your own video lectures, suppose you are in this post-COVID mode, you have got your lecture contents recorded, you can use their formats to put up your own course material also and see whether how many students are accessing them. Apart from your own students, you can put up your lecture videos there. But it is better that the class recordings, generally they contain a lot of other discussions also, but they may not be continuous. So class recording and video lectures are two different things. Video lectures means in a secluded way. You have to come online, record your classes. It may be a studio, it may not be a studio. Only thing can ensure that nobody is going to disturb you within the lecture duration. And there are some tools which you can use to go for the lecture, for preparing the lecture content. So you can put your those experienced teachers, they can, who are there for a long time in their teaching profession, they can register themselves with Vidwan. And I hope many of you are also registered. So you can put up your data. So maybe when there is some requirement, either you can put up your, you will be able to put your own courses, or you can act as experts. So you can just register with Vidwan in that sense. And similarly to the course contents, as I mentioned here for Vidyamitra, so similarly for the EPG Pathshala, it provides the content in a more structured way, that is in the 4 quadrants. It can be accessed as open educational resources where no teacher support or handholding of students is required. So there also it can be done. You are just putting up your courses. It's like a platform and Vidyanmitra that you are putting up your course content. Students are accessing. It may be accessed by your own students also, where you put up your lecture. But that kind of a portal is similar to the Moodle. So we are now using Moodle for that, where after ending of each class, we put our the Moodle account. The license is taken up by institute. We have opened up our own portals for our own courses. There we have put our modules and entered the contents so far as our courses are concerned. But in this case, you have to develop the open courses after and applying for a particular format. And this application has to be routed to the committee which is formed in an institute, that whether that particular course content is suitable or not. It's not that you can simply access them. So it has to be routed through the proper channel. And there is a committee which looks into the quality of the courses, the deliberations, and then it will be sent for evaluation to EPG Pathshala. Then there are, this has objective of the course you have to mention. You have to mention the prerequisite, what courses they must have studied to take up this course. Then what are the learning outcomes? In fact, learning outcome or the course outcome is now a standard way to judge your course and quantify the output. Particularly, it is required for the, if you are having your own courses, the accreditation bodies, they generally prefer to quantify the outreach of your courses through the learning outcomes. How much learning outcome has been achieved? How the people, this learning outcome is linked to the program outcome, whether it's a UGPG program. So whether that program outcome is contributed from your learning outcome from this course, or it is to how much extent it is contributing. So this quantification is quite important. So when we go for our this side, it is the National Board of Accreditation (NBA), and the NAC also is going for such kind of accreditation, and they are taking up these tools. And in fact, there is a unified approach also nowadays. It is being planned. Then what the target learners, then time duration, and the type of course, whether you are going to give only a certificate or there is a credit value. Because there are many NPTEL courses also which are certificate courses, but they are not providing the credit value. Now, mind it, if you're just give them access to the courses, you won't go for handholding. That is, there is no accessing. You will not have any examination purpose. There is no continuous assessment. Final evaluation is not there. So obviously there is no credit transfer. Those certificate courses has less viewership now. Now EPG Pathshala, which was put up, so from there the courses which are available, they have international viewers now. So there has been this is again one of the reasons that the study and program was initiated, because people from other countries, they were interested in the courses being offered by our universities and institutes. And gradual standardization started taking place. You will see the different orders. So as I mentioned, that the NME ICT was started or launched in 2009, and then correspondingly, that is the credit framework for online learning courses through SWAYAM. There was a UGC notification of that in 2016, and it is just to have that the MOOCs courses are being more accessed by the students. So awareness on MOOCs and SWAYAM courses, so their visibility was long planned, and in fact those planning helped a lot in continuing with the higher education system in the post-COVID time also. And particularly if you see the different platforms for this has come to the EPG Pathshala, UGC MOOCs, NPTEL in one unified set, that is study webs of active learning for young aspiring minds. So I have highlighted it blue. Together it is called as SWAYAM. Now this term was coined to include all the various. Now NPTEL was separate, EPG Pathshala, there was Vidyan Mitra, so there was different type of portals. Now there are two, one which is web-based, which is you can access through the internet. Another is the television network, which is through the direct-to-home television, DTH channels. This was, which was initiated and promulgated through the Doordarshan since 1984. So that was little bit it was not so much popular in the present domain. With the enhancement of the NPTEL and MOOCs and EPG Pathshala through the web-based learning, and with the accessing of high internet facilities in the various universities and institutes. Now we cannot complain that there is internet is not that much. Maybe there are some glitches may be there, but it has quite a significant bandwidth which is accessible to the central universities or the other state-run universities or institutes. So that has helped a lot in the students to access them, and in fact setting up of wireless campuses, that has also put up a lot in giving access to the students internet facilities in their hostels. That has also helped a lot. So therefore there are various reasons that the kind of SWAYAM course is getting large viewership nowadays, and people have the awareness has also increased, because such requirement was to gradually put up the courses in the form in which domain. As I was mentioning, the viewership can increase only when you restructure the curricula. That has been done for the period. In fact, 2018, 17, 18, we have seen that a lot of restructuring. In fact, we had to go for curricular revision in various self-financed universities, state universities. Our institute also had the restructuring of the curricula from 18 onwards, and the modification was that you can finish up the credit course, the credit you can achieve the total credit either 160 or 170 for our case. In fact, the total credit limit has been also given nowadays, though AICT is governing it for other engineering institutes, but IITs and NITs they are under direct MHRD, so they have their own structuring to cater to that. We generally call experts from other NITs or IITs and other universities, and we can formulate that how much is the total credit point which is required. So though there is a general guideline that nowadays we have kept more number of courses which can be taken up if a student wants, then such NPTEL and web-based courses they can take up to add to their credit, and they can finish up the courses such that they can go for some internship, spend a lot of time in internship. So this platform, you can see that it is shrinking to one particular domain, that is SWAYAM. Though there are other web-based learning systems also which are paid systems, but we are not here to discuss those paid systems. The MOOCs, which is, if you type MOOCs in Google, it has massive online courses, which is that a lot of other domains also from where you can get, but we are calling it as UGC. So therefore there was a restructuring was done to particularly prove that it is UGC MOOCs, and it is one of the verticals of SWAYAM. It is clearly mentioning that it is one of the part of a SWAYAM, and everything has come under one particular domain. So in SWAYAM, you can see the different courses, you can apply for them. In fact, they have put up the formats so that teachers can apply. If you are already with one, so you can now think of that if you have your own courses, a particular fundamental course or a elective course, core course, elective course, anyway, which you are teaching. So if you think that the course content is your own with your the total material is self-developed, then you can start recording your classes for video content. So in that case, this 4-quadrant approach has to be followed. I think many of you know about this. That is in the e-learning program. It is the e-tutorial which can contain the video and audio content, some animation, simulations, video demonstrations. So a little bit of video editing has to be done. I will show you one tool also where, again, it's an openware free tool has to be used. So there is generally, I can just minimize the screen and show you the video tool that we generally use here. Generally, I use this VSDC free video editor. So what we do, we take up the videos. So you can import any such. So you can see the different lecture slides. So this is excellent. I find it quite convincing for me. And then what I can do, I can edit. Suppose you have missed certain points, or there is certain point there was a noise which is coming from outside, or you want to re-record certain portions, you can edit it. You can just I think you are able to see the screen because I'm
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
yeah, thanks. So you can just edit your own video content. You can convert it when you want to, when you are satisfied with the video, then you can convert it into different formats using the tools which are provided here. Either for PC-based systems or web-based systems. For web-based system, you can convert it into FLV, that is the Flash content. You can have different contents. You see for different media platforms, the appropriate conversion is provided. But if you select Android domain, the resolution will be so small, that so poor, that you cannot visualize. Again, the students who are accessing that in a desktop, they will be very hazy. So try to, so it is your own purview that how would you make it accessible. It is also not difficult. It's quite easy. You have to just little bit know about it and then use it for converting the video contents. So after creating the video content, the quadrant 2 is e-content, which shall contain self-instructing material, ebooks. Yeah.
Sir,
Yes.
lastly you showed that the VSDC free video editor. Sir,
Yeah.
it work like Zoom video editors. Like when we used to prepare our lectures, I
Zoom
used,
video editor.
yes sir, I used to do that in Zoom.
Please 1 minute. One is talking outside. I will just inform you. Excuse me. I am just responding to you.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry for that. There are some persons who are talking
Sir,
loudly. Okay.
actually,
Yeah. In Zoom video editor. Okay.
yes,
So you can just I can highlight that for certain reasons, for certain guidelines, we cannot use Zoom.
yes sir,
Yeah. So
yes sir,
we are taking our classes either through Google Meet. So at least from the so far as the government institutes are concerned, they can take the classes to Google Meet, or we have the Microsoft Teams, because we have the Microsoft licensing also. So that is more preferred platform. My all classes get recorded in Microsoft Teams, but there is no video. They can record the video.
yes
They
sir.
record the video and they generally save it in your own desktop or
Laptop, sir.
device from where you are taking the class.
Yes sir.
Okay,
Sir,
but
actually,
those videos, the editing of these videos means, suppose you want to, you have recorded 2 classes, or you want to insert some other contents which you have recorded separately, or you have re-recorded 2 slides, suppose. So how to insert that? This has to be done with a professional video editor.
editors.
I just give an example where you are using this free tool as such kind of editors. You can just put up. It's like these are the things we have to learn also, because mainly when in the post-COVID period, instead of accessing the studio, generally in the studio what happens, which are generally designated for such cases, there are persons, technical persons who are doing that. Fine.
Yes sir.
Like the NPTEL courses get recorded in their own studios, in their continuation education centers, and those there are designated persons who take care about this. So sometimes there is a camera from top, sometimes there is a camera in front of them also. So whenever they are teaching something, the camera on the top is recording that, and they are mixed with and they're edited, so that whenever he starts speaking, there is technical people who are master in that, who are doing this content. But how we will do it? We don't have that resource because we are taking our classes in our own room. Fine. Therefore, I'm just taking up these suggestions so that we can effectively use it without having a big resource.
Yes,
But
actually,
it's quite fine.
my question is that actually, in a COVID situation, earlier period means the March and April. That time
Yeah.
we have to used to do the thing in Zoom actually, and that
Okay.
time I learned how to record my talk in Zoom recording
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
sir. But the VSDC free video editor, actually my uh, doing this coursework is my main aim to find out these kind of free video editors, so that I can record my lecture in a proper way, so that it will the
Yeah, yeah.
quality.
You see, let the online tools record that your video. Fine.
Yes, sir.
After that, you can reduce the, suppose that particular video is 100 MB.
Yes,
A
sir.
remote student in some remote area, just I got a message during that time. Now also we are following the same process. They're telling that, sir, I am not having that much internet access. So what to do? The one nice thing was that when the students, they put this problem, I was thinking that how to reduce the video content. So for them particularly, so that they can access, they had left their desktops and laptops all in their hostel campus. Okay, in the campus, in the hostel they left it. So for them, I converted that part into their Android-based systems, or the video content part, which can be displayed in small devices. So that was a very small size video, and they could access that. So those who could have access to good internet can view it in desktop. For them, it was a 60 MB file, down from 200 MB. We could also reduce it. And apart from that, it could, those who need to visualize with their own smartphones, which is the only device they are able to access. So in that also, if you convert it into FLV or the corresponding formats for the smartphones in the Android domain, that, and send that file to some person, some students who are not having good internet access. In the small device, the resolution will be quite good for them to view it.
Yes, sir.
So you can use this. This is an example of free tool. There are a lot of free tools, but I found that this is quite professionally better than other tools which are available.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This is one of the tools I used.
Yes.
Then the second quadrant is the self-instruction material, books, illustrations. Now, e-books, when you put up that in the e-content, I think if the institute library has got that e-book, there has to be a sharing purpose. Can you share it, whether it is violating the license agreement, that has to be taken care of. So you can, if you have your own written coursework, course material, so that you can format it in the document editing softwares, and you can put up in the content platform. So certain things you have to take care of, and if you are taking some images of due recognition to the particular websites, like or you can have the taking it from some books, then proper reference to them. This has to be taken care of in the present domain. In fact, it has to be also taken care of when you are recording a e-course. That is, when you're recording a lecture video for putting up in the EPG Pathshala or in MOOCs. So nowadays it is one of the guidelines that teachers should come up with MOOCs courses, that is, and put up in SWAYAM, that is either in the UGC MOOCs, or for certain domains it is in the NPTEL. So for that purpose, you have to completely have your own material, which is your own creation. You can re-illustrate that with the help of your teaching assistants, or if you are having a big group, you can even access a bigger course volume. A 4-credit course can be also prepared. So therefore, you can see that if you have less resources, you can go for some less this kind of coursework type of courses, which is 3 credit or 2 credits, that is 3 weeks courses, 4-week courses, that you can go for. And the third quadrant is discussion forum for raising of doubts and clarifying them on a real time basis also, where you have to be present and the students will have their own doubts lively. And the quadrant 4 is assessment, which contains the problems and solutions, like you can put up multiple choice questions, and this all out of this. Nowadays what we are doing in this post-COVID domain, for the courses, classes, we take it to either Microsoft Teams. The video content is there, the class lectures are recorded, but separately you can record your own video lectures, that is having your tools. For that, you have to, I just stop sharing after these 4 quadrants. You need to have this Wacom. This is a simple Wacom with a magnetic pen. I have a magnetic pen with that. So this is one of the tools which quite helps us in taking classes. In illustrating the figures, you can, it's compatible with any PowerPoints or Word. So you can use these tools to illustrate something, write equations, you can illustrate figures, everything you can do with this digital pen. This Wacom is generally a very simplest form of that, which you can use it. But for other studio-based recording, there are more uh, complex Wacoms are available. So this is one of the tools which we can use it for the present domain for taking our classes. So this is quite easy also for us to use. Only a little bit of practice is required. I hope many of you are using. So how many of you are using this Wacom? Some form of Wacom? Have you? Because one of the learned faculty members, they told that they are taking the classes through Zoom and they recorded also. So how many of you adopted to Wacom? Because this this is my personal one. I used to use it for long time for illustrating anything, for recording my video lectures for certain contents. But Institute has provided also with a new kind of Wacom. Okay, anyway, we can proceed. Now, what's the difference between e-content and what we are going to do for MOOCs? In EPG, Pathshala provides e-content in 4 contents, but there is no teacher hand-holding. You can just interact with them. If they are having something, they can mail it. You can see the view content. You can reply. But real-time hand-holding, that is because you are not taking any exams, or so you need not take up any hand-holding. They may be appearing for their exams in their own universities, but they are accessing your course. So it's just like that. You can be very happy that if your course is put in EPG Pathshala, your either lecture video or your course content, then you can see that how many students are accessing that to prepare for that course. So that gives a good feedback also that your course material is quite content specific and that is helping the students. So it is personal satisfaction also. But in MOOCs, the teacher has to, the student groups where MOOCs are, they have to coordinate and interact with them, and the learner has to be provided a certificate for attending the course. It can be either certificate, it can be other credit values also. So here there is a complete teaching atmosphere in MOOCs, either, but the duration may be different, the credit value may be different. It's same as classroom teaching, but it is through remote access. Now, these 4 characters can be specific in this way that it is the learning courses. Then you have to notify when you are taking the, when from it will start. You will see that this notification which you set in is generally available in the websites. So whether in the semester-based system, whether it is in the odd semester or in the, it will be offered in the event semester, you have to specify that. So you know generally what is the curricula, and generally your course occurs in which semester, either odd or even. And similarly, you can announce your courses and it will be seen. And then the credit transfer after evaluation and continuous assessments. But it should be following the learning outcome and course outcome. So what is the process? Now, initially when we thought that, okay, how to access, if any faculty can go for the MOOCs courses, so the university through their competent authority should take amendments in their regulations to include credit transfer through MOOCs. Like, this is the first thing which has to be done in continuation with the orders which have come out, or the various guidelines which has been provided. So until and unless your regulation doesn't permit, the students cannot use the MOOCs courses fully, because if the regulation permits, then only those credit points are to be transferred. Now this is almost acceptable now. Most are modified. Through AICT has initiated, so almost all technical universities have changed themselves. All technical universities, there are state technical universities, so they have changed themselves where the MOOCs courses are part of the credit. Those credits are acceptable in their curricula. In fact, it is specifically mentioned that these certain courses are to be taken through MOOCs courses or other NPTEL courses. Then select the courses. The university shall select courses to be permitted for credit transfer to SWAYAM, because that also needs a particular order. Now, which courses at the first you should go for? There are certain electives where you may find that the students require that elective, but there is no faculty because you're going to advertise it, you didn't find that particular faculty member. We also have such specializations. So where we didn't have that particular faculty member, or the faculty member had retired, so there was a particular vacuum for that particular elective or that particular domain to be, but that is an important part. So you can opt it that this particular course, the department can opt that, okay, we'll offer this particular course only, allow this to be given in the, done through either through SWAYAM. So it includes MOOCs, NPTEL, everything. Now designate course coordinator. University must designate a course coordinator or facilitator to guide the students throughout the course. Only taking up the course is not there. You cannot let the students that you take the course and you are sitting there and there is no teacher, so they are doing the course or not doing the course. If it is, particularly when it is through guided, that this particular student set will be taking up this course and this elective is being offered, so you have to coordinate. You have to find a coordinator who will provide access to them in certain domain, like they have to conduct the practical classes. If it is a lab-based course, the course has a lab also, because there are certain courses which has lab, but the course, the theoretical part, there is no specialized teacher. Then the lab facility is there, so some teacher has to take up the lab, conduct the practical sessions and do the examination, but the course coordinator or the facilitator should be present to help out the students at each and every time, and should widely disseminate the information about the selected courses. Many times the students tell us that I was not knowing that such courses were being offered, or we don't know that our regulation permits that we can access those courses, and that will be credit transfer. So it should be properly disseminated. You might have seen that NAC and our NBA team also, they generally first goes through the website and they find out what are the information there in the website, whether the information, website information clearly mentions all these guidelines, whether the website is properly guiding the students. The students nowadays, it is much more pertinent and also very, very relevant now, that all the information now the students access are going to the website. Even the new students told me that I didn't find in the website my new list, in that my name is not included. So they're everything they're accessing, even the student list which is created, they are now accessing through the website. That these are the new updated student list of this particular semester. So they're finding their name is there or not. Okay. So in that case, they must be properly viewing the curricular structure and the notifications which are there, that these courses in the curricula, they are mentioning that, okay, these such courses will be offered. But out of that, in that semester, they're told that, okay, they can go for MOOCs and NPTEL courses. But what are the courses? Suppose there is that I mentioned that which subject the competent people in the department and the university or the institute will decide. And similarly, that notification should be properly disseminated to the students. This is quite important. Otherwise, if the student doesn't know, then they may not be opting for that particular elective, and you may have a large crowd in other electives which are there. Then course registration, that is very, very important part. And after that, obviously the host institution shall evaluate the students registered for MOOCs courses based on the discussions, forum, quizzes. Now, this is again a very important part, that they may be going to the MOOCs courses, but the evaluations and all these things university has to arrange for them. The marks of the students, the university shall incorporate the marks grades communicated by the host teacher in the final marks. However, university shall evaluate the students for practical lab component and incorporate these marks grades in the overall mark sheet of the students. On receipt of the MOOCs completion certificate from the host institute, the university to give equivalent credit weightage. Now, this is a complete in tandem. So the not only therefore I once mentioned in one of the refresher courses that these particular courses should be also having the university academic administrators also in this fold, such that, because this is not only the function of the faculty members, but there are academic administrators, like the entire control of examinations section is should be involved. They must understand that how the course credit transfer has to be done, whether it is acceptable. So these regulations has to be completely disseminated, and it is a joint activity of everybody to help out the students to access online courses and get the credit value from those courses. In fact, in NPTEL, you saw that the credit points are grades which are offered to them. They submit that credit card to us, to the corresponding faculty members under whom they are doing it, and or the coordinators, and then those are transmitted down to the academic section where it is recorded and correspondingly given due weightage. So when you are setting up this, it actually this is followed by the Bloom's taxonomy or Bloom-Cathol taxonomy, which is, so it's remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create. So this all has to be taken care of in evaluating them. So you might be presently setting up your own questions. You must be following the particular Bloom's taxonomy for that. But when you are setting up the online courses, be very particular that how you distribute your questions. Your course outcome should be having these terminologies, should be based on this. That is what is quite important. Then it is more structured. So I specifically mentioned this such that apart from the regulations, apart from how to do that, this is which is catering to both. You are within the domain, you are able to formulate your course outcome based on this. I think many of you have done it. So this is just a just reminder that we have to apply the Bloom's taxonomy in preparing the course outcome and also the testing them while testing them. So like some exclusive part, you must be seeing that only out of a 70-mark question, I think 5 to 10 marks is only for this topmost property. That is either you design or you give a design problem, or there is something which you expect them to think from by themselves and do that. There are some justifications, there is some reasoning kind of questions to judge their understanding, whether they can do, and there are other skills also they can be taken up. And most of the questions, I think they are remembering. That is, I would not exactly tell as rote learning, but they have to remember, like there are certain definitions, there are certain parts in various disciplines also, there are certain parts which they have to remember. So there are certain laws and theorems, they cannot change the wordings. So this has to be taken care of. Now, an academician, faculty having 5 years of PhD teaching experience in concerned field can be a course coordinator. The faculty employed in the institute who are eligible to receive funding from UGC. Now, here there was a clause that under section 2F of 12B of UGC Act 19, eligible to receive central assistance are eligible for applying for MOOCs. But there was one point here that Faculty employed in university college would be required to submit a consent letter from host university institute to develop MOOCs courses. So affiliated colleges also can now be included, provided they have to go through the affiliating university. They have to do that. And as the courses get its certification, they shall be cleared by the host institute. Again, when they do so, everything should be through the institute. So colleges should go through the affiliating universities, because after all, the curricular structure and everything are finalized by the university and they are disseminated down to the affiliated colleges. But for the university departments, it is a little bit more simplified, because the university departments have their own faculty members who are designated for evaluating the content, whether it is suitable for to be transmitted to the next section. And for the whole university, there is a committee which generally sees, undergoes this scrutiny, that whether it is acceptable, and they recommends that this person courses can be submitted for evaluation, and finally it can be put up. If it is accepted by MOOCs, the MOOCs also sets up a committee, and then they generally evaluate those courses. And one course coordinator can offer only one course at a time. This is also very important.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
In
yes.
point number 1, is PhD required? It's not mentioned there. It's
Yeah.
written that 5 years of teaching experience. Is PhD required in that case?
It is expected, because nowadays it's a good issue, but nowadays for our systems, I can tell you that there is no entry into the first grade of assistant professor without PhD.
Okay, fine. So it is a
For our 6,000 AGP, nobody can. Our minimum criteria requirement is they have to have a PhD degree.
okay, fine. So it's implied over there, right? So
That's the
PhD is
thing, sir.
required. Okay, fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So as I was telling you, that I showed you simple Wacom, which we can use it for our own courses. So this is one of the part where we require a camera now. If it is a studio, then it has a tripod stand. Multiple cameras also are there. Then movement sensing camera are there, because in studios also recording studios have the blackboard, whiteboard, and the faculty members teaches exactly similar way how they do in the class, and multiple cameras record them, and then they are edited by these expert people who are designated for this in the studio. And there is a complete studio setup is required for this operation. But in the personal sense, I can tell you that in a personal way, we can have our own HD camera or any such good recording camera, resolution recording camera with microphone. You can also use a collar mic, which can be connected to the recording device. And you can use this Wacom, which is a personal Wacom set. And for better lighting, you can sit somewhere where there is a good lighting. So generally our faculty rooms are well illuminated, and these are all will help you to record your own class. You need not need a big studio also to record your own class in certain cases. Like, I think our voice is quite clear with this particular webcam that I'm using. I'm quite audible properly, because I've seen my recorded videos also during this one. So you can record your own videos, and then you can put up for the students to view it. So initially, what I suggest that you can take the benefits of the COVID during this time, and you can self-record your videos using such arrangements, and you can see that how the students are providing the feedback. Live classes are fine. Live classes, when you are performing, there may be certain interruptions, there may be certain other discussions also. But when you are not having any students in the class, you can create your own link to live record your classes, and then you can put up your videos for each and every class. So in that we can record your entire 30 lecture video. It's a 3 credit course. So here we are generally discussing about the various ways of scheduling your classes. So once you are allowed to put up your course, you are allowed to record your course. So here to now you can put up the matter in the schedule courses. How will you schedule it? This all facilities, if you are, I think how many of you are using Moodle for the present domain? Just may I know from my faculty colleagues how many of you are using Moodle? Anybody who are using Moodle?
So I use Google Meet.
But how will you give the entire assignment sets and
So
for
assignments, yeah, we are sending it via mail as of now. Moodle twice I got to know recently with this workshop only. Yesterday, Professor Partha helped us to create a site on the Moodle. Sorry, Genomio. Sorry.
okay.
So as far as I'm concerned, I am using Google Meet and I'm sending the materials via mail or WhatsApp.
Now you can just see in the screen sharing. You can see the our NIT Durgapur, which is this is the moodle.nitdgp.ac.in. You can see it. I'm sharing the screen.
Okay, yes, sir, I can see
Yeah.
that.
Then this is the subject I'm taking: microwave circuits and techniques.
Hmm.
So here I have to log in. You can see the courses.
Yeah, so this is helpful. Yesterday, Professor
Yeah.
Partha Mukhopadhyay
Yeah. Yeah.
from Kolani University, he
Yeah.
taught us how to do it,
So these
and
are the
I'm
different
thinking,
modules.
yeah, so I'm thinking on this line I'll be doing so. So
Yeah.
I was not aware of this thing.
Yeah. So what happens is now this is what we are following earlier also, because the students has to access. Now they can access. Suppose I am giving a particular assignment,
Yeah,
so I can know from here that how many students have submitted the assignment
yeah.
and how many have accessed that. So
Yeah, we
when
can
the
grade over here. Yes, sir. We can grade over here. We can then
yeah
set a time limit. I don't know about the other faculties who are present out here, but
yeah, so there were you can I've divided the different modules. So for each and every module, I generally upload the slides, the content, the reading materials, but I don't upload scanned copies of books. Mind it, you cannot upload because there are some here in online version in recording. I used to tell it when we were pre-COVID, there was no such thing awareness in COVID duration, and people are more aware. But earlier, suppose some 2 years before when I used to tell it, but at that time I used to mention that you must be very aware in the online courses, in the online preparation of the courses on online deliberation, that the material should be your own. You cannot scan a book. There are some, you will violate the copyright of the book. You cannot reproduce the contents of the books and then put up. But you can take the materials, write your own lecture notes out of that, you can put it. You can prepare your slides, you can put them. But you cannot scan the pages of the books and put here. Just certain things you have to keep in mind. In fact, these are the things which helps because
but sir, can we download? Suppose some research articles from EPW I downloaded it. Can I put it out there then? Some other articles of some other
provided
articles.
that article is freely downloadable. If it is an open access article, then
Open access. Yeah, yeah. It's downloadable, and then I can put it out there, right? For
it
their
is downloadable. You don't want any have any licensing for that. Like I cannot put up an IEEE paper directly
Mm-hmm.
because IEEE requires some monetary contribution for accessing their papers. So I cannot now when I'm doing it in Moodle and this Moodle is registered and we are having the IEEE access, so I can provide the access to the students. The students have got their IEEE access now, IEEE paper. So I can just mention that this is the, just like I put references, I can mention that you can access these papers. Hope I am clear to this. So you have to,
But sir, can we scan our own lecture notes? Can we scan our own?
yeah, you can scan your own lecture notes.
I can't do others, right? Because of copyright infringement issues,
You
right?
cannot do others. See, scanning your textbook means you see the first two pages. It completely mentions that you cannot reproduce or just photocopy. This is written in the copyright
Okay.
description. So you
Okay.
cannot
And
take up these books. If
okay.
it,
Those articles which are from open access resource, we can do that, right?
yes, and
Okay.
you must have known that whenever the post-COVID period, there was in this situation, the libraries got a lot of requests that would you like to get the ebooks of our
Hmm.
books which are there. So a lot of publishers, they proposed to the library people that you can acquire the ebooks.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, the library access has to be there with some password security given to the each and every students, where the students will be declaring, like we have to declare that I will not share this with those people who are not having any access or connected to NIT Durgapur. I cannot share it with anybody. Suppose I have an access to the IEEE. The passwords have been, I can access IEEE paper sitting in my home. I need not come to the institute also in the our own plan system, but I can access it now sitting anywhere. But I have to give that password. But that is, I have to sign a declaration that I cannot share it with anybody.
Achha, sir, one more query. Like I'm a faculty of Rabindra Bharati University,
Yeah,
so I have access to the remote. I have this remote access facility, right? Sitting
yeah,
at my home, I can access the RBU library and I can download some say journals or Taylor Francis or
yeah.
JSTOR and all that thing. So somewhere, if I create this site in Moodle, and can I create a link which can suppose my student, I gave them email restricted access to my Moodle site, and there can I create a hyperlink where they can click it and get connected to the RView
It's
library?
still fine to do. It's till the your own students are accessing, who are students of your university. But
Mm-hmm.
that fellow, if he shares that to the others,
Acha.
that
So
fellow
it's
can do
better
it.
to get a declaration from their
Better.
end.
So how many declarations? So you better you can just put up the reference and tell them, because the students are also having access. It's
Okay.
not that only faculty members are having access. The
Yes, sir.
students have been given the access to the educational resources which are available in the library. So let the students download it. You give the reference number, you give the page numbers, the detailed
Okay.
reference of the papers.
Okay.
They will download of their own.
Okay. So that will be much better than connecting
That
it
is
with.
much better to be. So
Okay.
these are the things which are just guiding us nowadays.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for the clarification.
Like there was the earlier what mistake. Nowadays we are finding that like there are certain platforms, online platforms,
Mm-hmm.
where we generally are interested to see what is our research score.
Mm-hmm.
But there, whatever new paper is coming, there are tendency for almost all. I am not having any account. Only reason is that I do not put any paper. Suppose I am having published one paper, so that paper I cannot put there because that will violate the Copyright Act. I cannot, because that paper is accessible to everybody, those who are paying a certain money. So if I
Okay.
put up that paper there, the PDF which I'm having, so that will be easily accessible. So that will be
Violation.
the organization, the various organizations, they don't take actions on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is happening.
Okay.
We should be taking care of.
So we should be very careful while doing all these things,
Yeah,
right?
in online you have to be
Very cautious and
understanding
careful.
the copyright acts, which are,
Yes,
because
yes.
whenever you do so, you sign it. I agree. This I agree. What are the things you agree? That has to be understood.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the
So when
clarification.
you are creating the courses, let us come back to the MOOCs courses. So whenever you're creating, so you have to, you will want to join access, you will have the description of the courses. The similar way, you can do it in this platforms, which is Moodle also. So once you are formulating the courses, you have to put the duration of the courses, just like I showed you in Moodle. So similarly also in MOOCs courses, when you upload it, the different files, live classes, only thing is that here the live classes separate provision is there. In fact, when we started our Moodle, we had a limited resource for each and every faculty member, but now the total memory space has been enlarged. such that we can upload these video contents also individually for the different lectures. So you can see the different file formats. It's the same way. If you are accessing Moodle, then it will be quite easy for you to set up the courses in MOOCs also. Once you get permission or your course is accepted to be developed, so in the similar way you can put up your courses class-wise, lecture-wise, content-wise, module-wise, so you can put the things. And then I just come to the other aspect. So initially in 2016, it was to use up MOOCs, and SWAYAM course platform was created. Now the annual refresher program in teaching, that is also has been, you can access SWAYAM courses in the UGC MOOCs courses, which is under SWAYAM platform. You can use it for your a 40-hour program with 20 hours of video content. So that is what is the requirement, and this can be considered as your refresher course. So in fact, many are accessing them, and it has been quite fruitful. So it started long ago. It was at that time we were not aware of COVID, so it has helped a lot, because everything now it is a compulsion for us, because nobody is going anywhere. So the benefits are being translated automatically. So the groundwork preparation, which was there already, it has helped a lot in at least continuing with the higher education's part. And for this reason, recently, if you see the Ministry of Education, now the name has changed, as you know, this portal has put up the Pragyata, which is a guideline for digital education. It is a 46-page document, and in the section 6, you will see that the national initiatives for digital education and teacher preparation. Teacher preparation, that is also the ARPIT courses. So everything is coming under the SWAYAM, and the entire program is called the PM eVidya program. And this is highlighting the fact, which is one nation, one digital platform. So again, only once accessing domain will be there, and from there there will be different verticals like MOOCs, then NPTEL courses, then also the courses of which is accessible through wireless courses. That is the portal I can show you at present. This is the SWAYAM Prabha. So you can, I think many of you have accessed the SWAYAM Prabha. It gives you a guideline. Now, if somebody is telling that we don't have access to high-speed internet, then they can have the DTH, that is the GSAT 15, through that, the satellite television. So they can access with the DD dish, they can access the various channels, and the different channels for different courses, like channel number 16 for humanities, for engineering, sciences, and related branch, channel 15. It is all given here. So the process is highlighted here. How to install the configure this is, you have to get this. So in a particular room, you can have access to this, and you switch on to the channels whenever a particular group of students, suppose the mechanical students, when they will be doing that, or the humanities students, so you put up that particular channel. A large TV can be obtained. So instead of having a high-speed internet facility and giving access point to all the students through this, if it is not accessible, and many students may tell that, okay, I'm not having a smartphone, I am not able to have access. This is particularly mainly focused for those who are into school education, because a large part of the school education, the students may not be having access to the high-end digital devices. For them, the television systems are quite preferable. And once you install this, and you can set the following parameters for the set-top boxes, and you can access the course content which has been provided through the SWAYAM Prabha channels. So this is what is the reinvention or the relook at the factor which was the CEC course lectures under UGC. So this was using the Doordarshan, so the terrestrial network. Now the same higher education and school education both are from the satellite network. So this satellite network has been enhanced, and we are thankful to ISRO also. In fact, a lot of my students who are contributing to these factors, because we are in the electronics and communication engineering domain, our students who are recruited in ISRO, they are providing excellent jobs in enhancing the capabilities of our satellite systems and providing huge bandwidth transponders such that we can have access to such high-end digital contents. In fact, the online and popular courses through the digital DTH, 34 DTH education channels. So this has been very much thought of, and this is one of the domains where we can take the impact of digital divide, which is being told or being communicated to various authorities by the student community that I'm not having access to high-end digital devices, and in fact digital this data rate also is not that high for us, so we are not having access to internet. For them this is a very, very win-win situation, and this is I hope that this will be further developed to proceed with the content part. So with this I try to go back to the presentation and come back to the concluding slide by the famous quote from Rabindranath Tagore: the highest education is what I can feel that it does not merely give us information but makes our life in harmony with all existence. Thank you.